Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, DwyerBoxingNews.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. There is a huge story, and I mean huge. It's one that deserves your attention. It's historical. Now, one of the things that always attracted me to boxing, that made boxing really a special sport, is the fact that in boxing, what fans care about the most is ability, right? Ability matters, right? Talent, skill, whatever you want to call it. In boxing, we want to see the very best, right? We're not caught up on race, gender, religious affiliation, even your past, in terms of whether or not you learned to fight in prison or in a different venue. We want to see the very best. So when I was a kid, one of my idols was Jack Johnson, right? A black man who was heavyweight champion of the world 3 decades before Jesse Owens. I always thought that the sport's inclusiveness, the fact that it had interracial events years, literally decades before team sports like baseball, really underscored how special boxing is. Another one of my favorites, Benny Leonard, right? Of Jewish descent. Understand, Benny Leonard was the champion. He's an all-time great. And he dominated in an era where anti-Semitism was rampant. And I'm talking about the before World War II era. And fight fans loved him. To this day, people like Mike Tyson talk in reverential tones about Benny Leonard. He's one of the standard bearers for the sport, right? So, it's in that spirit that I believe all of us need to be aware of Orlando Cruz coming out as a gay man, openly gay, while he's in the prime of his career. Understand, he is the WBO's 4th-ranked featherweight contender. He's a former Olympian from Puerto Rico. He was on the same Olympic team as Miguel Cotto. Now, what I want people to do, I think it's a high point for the sport, quite frankly, just like Jack Johnson was a high point for the sport, just like Benny Leonard was a high point for the sport, because really the focus in boxing should be on Orlando Cruz's abilities, right? Not his race, not anything else, not who he loves, but really on what he does in the ring. And I have no doubt that fight fans are going to cheer Orlando Cruz the next time they see him, and they're going to judge him on what he does in the ring, because that's what matters. Let me also point out that Orlando Cruz may be the first openly gay boxer, but you're kidding yourself if you think he's the first gay boxer. You actually have a Hall of Famer, who I believe historians understand was gay, Emil Griffin. Griffin, unfortunately, right now is suffering from punch-drunk syndrome. He has, in interviews, acknowledged his sexuality, but people aren't sure exactly how mentally lucid he is right now. But what certainly is beyond question was the fact that Emil Griffin, in his prime, was a great fighter. That's why he is a member of the Boxing Hall of Fame. The only difference between Orlando Cruz, in my opinion, and Emil Griffin is the fact that Orlando Cruz, in today's society, is able to be openly gay. Understand, too, there are many other gay people in boxing history, right? Christy Martin has admitted, and she's still fighting, she's admitted to having had a lesbian relationship. I'm sure that Emil Griffin and Christy Martin are not alone. Okay, and so I don't want people to think for a second that gay people can't fight. Quite frankly, they have succeeded. They've been inducted into the Hall of Fame. And now, of course, Orlando Cruz becomes the first who is openly gay during his career. Let's all root for him. Let's turn to some other stories. Most self-evident headline of the day from BoxingScene.com. The headline reads, Mike Alvarado plans to pressure and hit Brandon Rios. Really? Did anyone watching this video think that Mike Alvarado was going to try to fight this one on his back foot? For those keeping track, I'm expecting Mike Alvarado to fight this on his front foot, and I'm expecting Mike Alvarado to win that fight. I think both stylistically and size-wise and punching power-wise, I would give the edge to Mike Alvarado. I think Brandon Rios, unfortunately, is in that gray zone where he was dominant at a certain weight. He had a size advantage at a certain weight after draining himself to make weight. Now his body just won't allow him to drain himself, so now he's going to fight guys who are a little bit bigger. That size advantage is going to go out the window, and quite frankly, while Brandon Rios is very successful, I don't think his skill level is A-level. We'll find out if I'm right. As I've said in an earlier video, I like Mike Alvarado in that fight. Let me just close with this. And I think this is also one of the biggest stories in recent memory in sports. And it's not a boxing story, it's a baseball story. It's Miguel Cabrera winning the Triple Crown. This, quite frankly, to me, a baseball fan, is one of the biggest athletic achievements during my lifetime. Let me just say, when I was a kid, and Frank Robinson, I believe, was a coach for the Cleveland Indians or something, my father told me that Frank Robinson had won the Triple Crown. I said, you've got to be kidding. How is that possible? I couldn't even understand how that could happen. Right? Apparently Robinson won the Triple Crown sometime a little bit before my time in the 1960s. You know, and at the time I remember being completely amazed. So then I did some research and I found that some other guys won the Triple Crown. Mickey Mantle, Carl Yastrzemski, right? Big names, Hall of Fame names. And I just thought that this was one of those records, you know, one of those accomplishments that I would never see repeated in my lifetime. And of course, Miguel Cabrera did just that. Let me point out that Cabrera is a Hall of Fame level player. Understand, before he won the Triple Crown, Miguel Cabrera already had won a batting title. He already had led the league in a hitting category. And for him to lead the league in home runs, RBIs, and average is simply astonishing, especially in this day of videotape, computers, hot spots, cold spots, computerized analysis, relief pitchers, middle relief pitchers. For him to be dominant in all three categories, quite frankly, is simply breathtaking. Those of you touting Trout for MVP need to get a clue. The MVP in the AL is Miguel Cabrera. Quite frankly, this is the best year, all-round dominance that anyone in baseball has had for several years. It deserves a look and a wow. Let me know what you think. My 10 minutes are up. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments for me here online. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com and DwyerBoxingNews.com. Thanks for tuning in.